Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dragon's Waterfall, your channel about Knights of the Zodiac, aka Seiya. And today we're diving again in the wonderful world of the characters who were cut from the Netflix version. So this is part 2. In the first video we discussed the characters who were present in the original manga but were not in the Netflix series. And today we'll discuss characters who were created by the original anime and once again have been cut from the Netflix series. But before we start, as usual, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and feel free to like, comment, and spread the word about Seiya. So, before we begin, just a warning, this is a long list, and I don't want this video to be an hour long, so I'll be quite quick. And let's begin. I'll be going in chronological order, and the first character is Dokrates, who appeared in episode 15 of the original anime. And Dokrates was a giant of a warrior, brother of Cassius, the guy who fought against Seiya for the Pegasus Cloth, and he sent from the sanctuary to get hold of the Sagittarius cloth. He has his own little army of soldiers, and is eventually defeated by Seiya, Hyoga, and Shun. Next, in episode 16, we have Jigos and Phaton. And Jigos is the Prime Minister of the Sanctuary, and he's sort of the second in command after the Pope, whereas Phaton is Captain of the Guard, and is third in command after the Pope. They are kind of like the stooges of the Sanctuary, and they are the ones responsible for sending assassins against Seiya and the others, and they are eventually punished for failing to get rid of Seiya. The first one to go is Jigos, who doesn't appear again after episode 22, and then Phaton makes a few appearances and is not seen again after the Sanctuary arc. Next, in episode 18, we have Geist and her three stooges, Sea Serpent, Dolphin, and Eel. Geist is a night pirate. She was sent in exile in an island in the Caribbean, but is called back to try to get hold of the helmet of the Sagittarius cloth, which is the last piece of the armor still in Seiya's hands. She has her three warriors, as I said, Sea Serpent, Dolphin, and Eel, and the four of them fight against Seiya, Shiryu, Shun, and Hyoga, first on a fuel tanker and then on an island in the Caribbean, but eventually they were all defeated and presumably killed. The next character is reasonably important. He is the Crystal Saint, and he appears in episode 20 for the first time. The Crystal Saint is the anime's version of Hyoga's teacher. So whereas Hyoga's teacher in the manga is somebody else, and I won't be spoiling who, just because he's someone who's probably going to appear very soon in the Netflix series, but in the anime, Hyoga's teacher is the Crystal Saint, and he is a reasonably strong knight, very loyal and very brave, but eventually he is corrupted by the Sanctuary and ends up fighting against Hyoga before dying at the end of the battle. Next is episode 22, where we have the Incendiary Saint, and as the name suggests, this is a knight who controls fire as his main weapon. He is the personal knight of Jigos, and the two of them together go on a mission to try to again take possession of the helmet of the Sagittarius cloth. He fights against Shun and then against Ikki. He initially seems to be winning against Shun, but then Ikki arrives and the Incendiary Saint is no match for him, so he gets defeated in a rather brutal and quick way. Next we have in episode 25 the Steel Saints, And I've mentioned the Steel Saints already when talking about Vandergurad, but they are basically knights who have been created by using technology for the most part. And there are 3 original Steel Knights representing Earth, Water and Sky. And these are Shu, Daichi and Usho. And Shu, who's the Sky Knight, seems to be the leader of the group. They make a handful of appearances and even come back in the Sensei Omega series later on. And for the most part, they fight alongside the main characters against the Silver Knights. At the beginning, there are a few episodes where we don't know whether they are friends or foes, but quite quickly they reveal their identity and then they become allies. And they are not seen again in the original series from the moment the 12 Parses arc begins. And next, in episode 28, we have their creator, Dr. Asamoy, whom I've already mentioned in the video about Vandergrad. But he's basically a scientist, an old friend of Mitsumasa Kido, and he was tasked by Mitsumasa to create the Steel Knights, so he's the one who eventually came up with the Steel Claws. And then we have Spartan in episode 26, and Spartan appears to be a Silver Knight, even though we never get to know his title for certain. He has very strong psychokinetic powers, and in the anime he appears alongside Shaina and Perseus Algor to fight against Shiryu, Seiya and Shun. And at first his psychokinetic powers give him an advantage over Shiryu, but eventually Shiryu tricks Algor into petrifying Spartan, and he's out of commission for a while, and when he comes back to life, he's forced to flee by the interference of the Steel Knights, and unfortunately we never see him again. Then in episode 33 we have Oko, and Oko was Shiryu's training partner and another student of the Old Master. However, unlike Shiryu, he was quite rebellious, so he was eventually sent away from the 5 Old Peaks. And he comes back at a time where Shiryu is blind following his fight against Perseus Algor, and the 2 of them have a fight over a couple of episodes, which is quite important for Shiryu to gain his confidence back after becoming blind. Eventually Oko is defeated and killed, but not before making his peace with Shiryu. In episode 35 then we have Alakney, who's the Spider Knight, or the Alakney Knight, Tarantula. He is one of the final assassins sent by the Sanctuary to try and kill Seiya, and he fights against Seiya in Jamil, but Seiya manages to defeat him with some help from Sho, the Steel Knight. So again, you can see how the Steel Knights are quite present in this part of the series. And last but not least, we have 2 of Shun's training partners, being Spika and Leader, who both appear in episode 40. And much like June, who I mentioned in the previous video, they trained alongside Shun on the Andromeda Island and were defeated when Shun obtained the Andromeda Cloth. They then come back in episode 40 trying to kill Shun to appraise the Sanctuary basically, but Shun is too strong for them and they get defeated. And so you have them, the characters who appeared in the original anime but were cut from the Netflix series. I don't think we'll ever see any of these characters appear. They are considered non-canonical by a lot of fans, and if they haven't appeared so far, it's very unlikely they will appear afterwards, considering that the Netflix series is about to enter the 12 Parses arc. But just in case, here they are. So this is it, and once again, remember to join the channel, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and talk about Sensei with your friends. Take care, bye bye!